Hi, I'd like to thank you for tuning back in to Poem Praise 2 uh, for our next Extraordinary African American. Now, I did let you know our next one that is coming up is Ralph Bunche. Now, he was a diplomat during the time period of 1903 to 1971. And this is the information that I have on Mr. Bunche. I have deep-seated bias against hate and intolerance. I have a bias against racial and religious bigotry. I have a bias against war, a bias for peace. I have a bias which leads me to believe in the essential goodness in my fellow man, which leads me to believe that no problem of human relations is ever insoluble. Ralph Bunche. Now, in 1950, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to an individual who temporarily brought an end to the bitter conflict between Jews and Arabs in the Middle East. The man who received the award was not Arab or a Jew, but an African American named Ralph Bunche. Now, born in Detroit, Michigan in 1904, Bunche and his family moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1915. 2 years later, his parents died, and his grandmother took young Ralph and his sister to Los Angeles. There he finished high school and enrolled at UCLA. After graduating with highest honors, Bunche enrolled at Harvard University, where he earned a master's degree in government. While there, he met Percy Julian, the great chemist, and because of Julian's influence, Bunche was offered a position as director of the political science department at Howard University in Washington, D.C. He accepted it and went to work enthusiastically. Now quickly discouraged by the segregation in Washington, he returned to Harvard, where he became the first African American to earn a Ph.D. in political science. In 1936, Bunche published A World View of Race, in which he states that racial prejudice exists partly because of economic needs. He writes, "The Negro was enslaved not because of his race, but because there were very definite economic considerations which his enslavement served. The New World demanded his labor power, but his race was soon used as the reason for the inhumane institution of slavery." Now, in 1944, Bunche went to work for the U.S. State Department, becoming the first African American acting chief of the Division of dependent area affairs. At the close of World War II, he was involved in establishing the United Nations. In 1946, he joined the UN as director of the Division of Trusteeship and Non-Self-Governing Territories. Now, this section worked to protect the rights of people still under colonial control. This became an area of great concern after the war, as many nations in Africa, Asia, and Middle East strove to become independent of European rule. Now, in 1950, Bunche received the Nobel Peace Prize for his work in bringing about a truce between warring Jews and Arabs in Palestine. Now, although fighting in the Middle East would break out again in the future, the truce was a major accomplishment. Not only did it bring temporary peace to the area, but it also showed that the newly created United Nations was capable of acting firmly to end the conflict. Now, in the following years, Bunche continued his diplomatic activities, working to end fighting in the Congo and on the island of Cyprus, supervising peacekeeping troops at Egypt's Suez is spelled S-U-E-Z, canal, and serving as a mediator in a dispute between India and Pakistan. In 1968, he became Undersecretary of the UN, the highest rank ever held by an American was by Mr. Ralph Bunche. So I certainly would like to thank you for tuning in and hearing the information I had on Ralph Bunche. Now, if you like what we're doing here on Poem Praise 2, going through extraordinary African Americans, please subscribe to my channel. And I'm going to give you a preview of who's coming up next for our extraordinary African Americans. And next I have for you is going to be Miles Davis, which is a jazz musician, a trumpeter during the time period of 1926 to 1991. And also during the same time period is John Coltrane. He's also a jazz musician, but he played the saxophone, so a saxophonist, during the same time period of 1926 yet to 1967. So certainly stay tuned, and I'll be hollering at you real soon, giving you certainly some more information on our extraordinary African Americans. So until you hear from me again, I want you to be blessed. All right? Later, y'all.